This episode is sponsored by Brilliant. I've roasted a few builds pretty hard during the short time that I've been on YouTube. Nobody likes hearing that their main is bottom tier trash, but, well, some of the builds in this game just have the most pointless abilities, some of the most inefficient game plans, and some of the worst matchups. And while players tend to fight me a lot on these points of contention, I expect that there won't be much disagreement with this next statement. Sloths are the worst ranked build in the entire game. Let me take a minute to show you how pathetic they are. Sloths have the lowest mobility level of any mammal build, as well as one of the lowest power levels of any mammal. In other words, they have zero options when it comes to fight or flight. They can't evade or drive away any attack, so if they're ever discovered by an enemy, it's game over for them. Sloths have only one defensive mechanism, their mediocre stealth. It's not even that effective, only providing camouflage when they're motionless, forcing them to keep still a lot. It also only functions while they're in the cover of tree foliage. Unfortunately for sloth players, once a week they have to travel to the ground to go to the bathroom, as they're somehow unable to do so while hanging from tree branches. This is a huge flaw in the sloth build's strategy, and over half of all sloth players eventually get their playthrough ended while attempting this ridiculous task. Another big flaw in the sloth strategy is their awful source of energy, leaves. Leaves provide so little stamina regeneration that sloths can't even dream of leveling up their mobility. The choice to specialize into consuming only leaves is the reason they're forced to min-max, keeping their power and mobility at the minimum possible value. All of their unused evolution points have to be spent on stealth and digestion in order to get any value out of the nutrients. But even there's a massive flaw in their strategy. The only way sloths can digest the leaves is because they've spent evolution points turning their digestive tract into a suitable habitat for bacteria that can break down the leaves. Without these bacteria, sloths can't digest their food. But if it gets too cold, the bacteria die, meaning that the sloth will starve to death even on a full stomach. By now I'm sure you're asking why any outside player would want to play as a sloth. And to be honest, it's mostly due to nostalgia, because the sloth class used to be awesome. In addition to the arboreal sloths in the game today, there used to be two other important sloth builds. The first was an aquatic variant that challenged and ultimately failed to compete with dugongs and manatees for the niche of best aquatic tank. The other sloth build was the giant ground sloth, one of the top tiers of the Ice Age meta. While they shared the low mobility of other sloths, instead of min-maxing for stealth, these builds were optimized for power, essentially mimicking the Therizinosaurus build in the Cretaceous meta. This meant that it was one of the only herbivore builds that could go toe-to-toe with the short-faced bear, and could literally one-hit the legendary Smilodon. When it comes to Ice Age tank builds, only the mammoth ranked higher, mostly due to its higher intelligence. So why is it that of all the sloth builds, only the tree sloths survived the Anthropocene update? Well, it turns out that it's for the same reason that they're low tier. Most Ice Age top tiers were wiped out by the invasion of humans, and giant ground sloths were no exception. Despite being able to easily one-shot humans with their claw swipes, giant sloths had no defense against projectiles. And since their stealth was so low, humans had no trouble finding and eliminating every single one of them. Humans have mastered basically every single zone of play, except for the arboreal zone. Humans get a huge movement penalty if they try climbing through treetops, and are extremely vulnerable to fall damage. And since tree sloths aren't exactly worth a ton of XP, humans mostly left them alone. Now, don't get the wrong idea here. If you're looking for a good character to play as in Outside, I do not recommend the sloth. Sloths are such an easy win for other arboreal players that Harpy Eagles intentionally leave them alive in their home territory, so that they can be used as practice when training new players. But with that said, it just goes to show you that sometimes it pays to be low tier, since being a powerhouse kinda puts a target on your head. If you like watching my channel, chances are that you enjoy learning about the science of evolution in unorthodox ways. And while these videos are great for generating interest in the subject, if you really want to take your understanding of evolutionary biology deeper, I highly recommend Brilliant.org's online class on evolution. It's an excellent way to really get to know the processes that drive life on our planet. Brilliant is an online learning platform that breaks complicated topics down into more digestible bits. But unlike the sloth's symbiotic bacteria, Brilliant won't simply disappear when things get too cold. To start a free trial of Brilliant and level up your intelligence stats, and support my channel in the process, head to brilliant.org/tierzu and sign up for free. The first 200 people to use that link will even get 20% off the annual premium subscription. Thank you all so much for watching, and thanks especially to my patrons on Patreon for supporting me directly. Don't forget to subscribe, And if you have a suggestion for a topic you'd like me to cover, be sure to leave it in the comments below. Until next time, good luck out there.